Millions of adults feel foggier every night, and most have no idea why. You probably think you're one of the lucky ones who can survive on 5 hours of sleep. You've convinced yourself that caffeine is a substitute for biology. But here is the bottom line. Your brain isn't just tired, it's actually starting to resemble a house where the trash hasn't been picked up in weeks. Imagine a stick man sitting at a desk surrounded by literal piles of garbage while trying to type. That is your prefrontal cortex at 3 p.m. after a 5-hour night. Research suggests that cutting your sleep to 5 hours doesn't just make you sleepy, it fundamentally rewires how your heart beats, how your cells process sugar, and how your brain cleans itself. Most people think the damage is reversible with a weekend nap, but there's a hidden mechanism we'll discuss later, the 2024 cognitive shift that explains why a sleep debt is a debt you can never truly repay. You're not lazy for feeling exhausted, and you're not failing because you can't focus. Your biology is simply screaming for help. When you consistently hit that 5-hour mark, you're forcing your body into a state of chronic sympathetic activation. Imagine a stick man constantly running from a shadow. That's your nervous system on 5 hours of sleep. It's a state of fight or flight that never turns off. You're not struggling with willpower, you're struggling with a physiological deficit that influences every single choice you make, from the food you crave to the way you react to your spouse. The core of the problem lies in what scientists call the glymphatic system, or, as we like to call it, the cleaning crew. Picture your brain glowing red with metabolic waste. While you sleep, the space between your brain cells increases, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash away toxins like beta amyloid. When you only get 5 hours, the cleaning crew gets fired halfway through their shift. The trash stays. This buildup is why you feel that heavy brain fog the next morning. Then there's the hourglass metaphor for adenosine. From the moment you wake up, a chemical called adenosine builds up in your brain, creating sleep pressure. At 5 hours of sleep, your hourglass never fully empties. You start the day with a half-full glass of exhaustion, and this is where most people accidentally make things worse by over-caffeinating, which merely masks the pressure without clearing the chemical. Here is the thing, the damage of the 5-hour night follows a specific timeline. We call this the 5-hour decay cycle. Phase 1 happens in the mirror. Research suggests that restricted sleep may influence your skin's ability to recover from environmental stressors. Your stickman looks haggard because his cells aren't regenerating. Phase 2 hits your metabolic engine. After just a few nights of 5-hour sleep, your insulin sensitivity can drop significantly. Your body forgets how to handle carbs, leading to those uncontrollable 4 p.m. sugar cravings. Phase 3 is the emotional volatility zone. Without the full restorative cycles of REM sleep, your amygdala, the brain's emotional center, becomes hyper-reactive. Research suggests you become 60% more reactive to negative stimuli. Small inconveniences feel like disasters. Finally, Phase 4 is the cognitive red line. This is where your reaction time slows to the level of someone who is legally intoxicated. You think you're performing fine, but what the research actually shows is that sleep-deprived individuals are terrible at judging their own level of impairment. And this brings us to the event moment of this video, the 60-second danger zone. If you stay in the 5-hour zone for more than 3 days, your brain enters a state of microsleeps. These are gaps in consciousness lasting only seconds, where your brain simply shuts off while you're standing or driving. You don't even realize it's happening. But here's the good news. Your body is incredibly resilient if you give it the right signals. You can't fix the past, but you can reframe your biological future starting tonight. The first practical step is what we call the 4-phase protocol. Phase 1, no caffeine 10 hours before bed. Phase 2, no food 3 hours before. Phase 3, no work 2 hours before. Phase 4, no screens 1 hour before. This creates a buffer zone that allows your adenosine hourglass to begin its descent properly. Don't try to go from 5 hours to 8 hours overnight. Your body will resist the change. Instead, aim for 15-minute increments.
Add 15 minutes of sleep every 3 days. This micro-scaling approach prevents the anxiety of lying awake staring at a clock ticking at 3:14 a.m. Bottom line, sleep isn't a luxury you earn, it's a biological requirement you owe to yourself. If you want to protect your brain from the 2024 cognitive shift, the long-term decline in executive function linked to chronic sleep restriction, you must stop treating 5 hours as a badge of honor. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional regarding sleep disorders or health changes. If you're ready to stop the fog and start the recovery, hit that subscribe button and join the snooze mode community. Your brain will thank you. When you are operating on 5 hours of sleep, you are essentially asking your brain to run a marathon while holding its breath. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for logic, reasoning, and impulse control, is the first to go dark. Picture a stickman trying to solve a complex puzzle while someone is constantly flicking the light switch on and off. That flicker is the instability of your neural networks. Research suggests that the lack of sleep disrupts the communication between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Usually, the prefrontal cortex acts like a calm, rational parent, keeping the emotional amygdala in check. But on 5 hours of sleep, that connection is severed. The parent has left the room, and the toddler is in charge of the house. This is why you might find yourself snapping at a coworker or feeling a sudden wave of overwhelming stress over something as simple as a misplaced set of keys. It isn't just about being grumpy, it is about a fundamental loss of emotional regulation. What the research actually shows is that the physical toll is just as punishing as the mental one. Your heart health is deeply tied to those missing hours. During deep sleep, your blood pressure naturally drops, giving your cardiovascular system a much-needed break. If you cut your sleep to 5 hours, you are depriving your heart of that rest period. Your heart rate remains elevated, and your blood pressure stays higher for longer periods. Over time, this chronic elevation acts like a slow-moving storm, wearing down the walls of your arteries. Imagine the stickman's heart as a small pump that never gets to turn off, slowly becoming overworked and brittle. This is why research suggests a strong link between short sleep duration and increased risk of long-term cardiovascular issues. Furthermore, your immune system essentially goes on strike when you hit that 5-hour limit. While you sleep, your body produces cytokines, proteins that help your immune system respond to threats like viruses and inflammation. When you shorten that window, your production of these protective proteins drops. You become a walking target for every seasonal cold or flu that passes through your office. Research suggests that individuals sleeping 5 hours or less are significantly more likely to catch a cold when exposed to a virus compared to those sleeping 7 or 8 hours. Your internal defense force is understaffed and undersupplied because you didn't give them enough time to manufacture the necessary ammunition. Now, let's talk about the hidden hunger. There are 2 hormones that control your appetite, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. It tells you when to eat. Leptin is the satiety hormone. It tells you when you're full. On 5 hours of sleep, these hormones go completely out of balance. Your ghrelin levels spike and your leptin levels plummet. You aren't just hungry, you are biologically programmed to seek out high-calorie, high-sugar foods. Your brain is looking for a quick hit of energy to compensate for the lack of sleep. Imagine the stickman standing in front of a refrigerator at midnight, unable to resist the lure of a sugary snack because his internal stop sign has been removed. It's a physiological trap that makes weight management nearly impossible. The 2024 cognitive shift mentioned earlier refers to recent longitudinal data suggesting that the brain's ability to pivot between tasks, what we call cognitive flexibility, suffers a permanent decline if chronic sleep restriction persists for years. It's as if the software of your brain starts to lag. You might notice you're repeating the same stories, struggling to find common words, or taking twice as long to read a single page of a book. This isn't just aging, it is the cumulative effect of the cleaning crew never being able to finish their job. The beta amyloid buildup we discussed isn't just a temporary fog. Research suggests it can create long-term structural changes in the brain. But we have to remember, you are not your past mistakes. The body has a remarkable capacity for repair once the protocol is put into place. When you move from 5 hours to 6, then 7, and eventually the target of 7.5 or 8, the glymphatic system begins to catch up. The trash starts to get hauled away. Your insulin sensitivity begins to stabilize. Your amygdala starts listening to your prefrontal cortex again. The stick man in your head stops running from shadows and starts walking with purpose again. The 10-3-2-1 rule is your blueprint for this recovery. By cutting caffeine 10 hours before bed, you ensure that the adenosine receptors in your brain aren't being blocked when it's time to actually rest. By stopping food 3 hours before, you allow your body to focus on cellular repair rather than digestion. By ending work 2 hours before, you signal to your nervous system that the fight-or-flight mode can finally deactivate. And by removing screens 1 hour before, you prevent blue light from suppressing your natural melatonin production. It sounds simple, that it is a powerful biological reset. Here's the thing. Most people will watch this and think, I'll start next week. But the 60-second danger zone of microsleeps doesn't wait for next week. Every night you spend in the 5-hour zone is another night of toxic buildup in metabolic stress. Bottom line, choose your health over your to-do list. The world can wait an extra 2 hours. Your brain cannot. You've been operating in a state of emergency for too long. It's time to bring the cleaning crew back and give your body the rest it has been begging for. You aren't losing productivity by sleeping more. You are gaining a brain that actually works. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional regarding sleep disorders or health changes. If you're ready to stop the fog and start the recovery, hit that subscribe button to snooze mode and turn on notifications so you can access more videos like this one. Your brain will thank you.